Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Shoe Podcast, the only sneaker podcast that is back from summer vacation. I'm your co-host, Ryan Landry.
Ooh, I'm your co-host, Tanner Young.
I'm your beach boy, Ryan Landry.
I'm your mountainous boy, Tanner Young.
Mountain man would have hit the alliteration, but I put you on the spot, so I appreciate it nonetheless.
Dang. Sorry about that.
Should we tell the people about our trips?
Hey, let's go ahead.
Quick little recap. You want to go first?
Yeah. We switched it up. Normally we do a beach trip. Funny enough, Ryan and I talked about this like months before going, and I was like,
that's true. Yeah.
I am a lazy boy on vacation. I like to just go to the beach, sleep whenever I want, wake up whenever I want, do whatever I want. But we decided to go to Yellowstone and Jackson Hole, like the Teton area. And it was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. We saw probably almost 15 bears. I saw a grizzly and her cub literally like 20 feet, 10 feet from me, which was terrifying whenever she looked over. And I'm just like,
you had the mace on you?
I'm just sitting there. Nope.
Oh, happy you're here today to tell the story.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. There was a plethora of photographers between us and the bear. So I was sitting here being like, I don't have to be the fastest.
That's what they say.
I just have to be the second slowest.
That's what they say. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun the next guy.
Yeah.
That's right.
Funny whenever that happened, I ended up talking to the tour guide and I was like, man, are all these people from like Nat Geo and stuff like that? You see these huge lenses, cameras. And he was like, oh no, that guy I was talking to, he's a retired teacher.
Yep.
I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, all those people that we just saw, they are all retired. They are not professional photographers. They're like a hobbyist. Don't get me wrong. He was like, they're good.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, you got a $50,000 camera rig. I would hope that you got some skills. But it was fantastic. I have been telling everybody, I'm like, everyone needs to go to Yellowstone. We literally went to the north of Yellowstone and basically drove down to the Tetons. It was a great vacation. Do it before or just do it differently if you have a 3-year-old. Basically, just don't do it with a 3-year-old.
You were trying to be polite. You were trying to find a way to accommodate him, but at the end of the day, no.
Yeah, to be fair, wasn't his vacation. I still think it was absolutely beautiful. It was fantastic. But I also couldn't fault my 3-year-old son because we would literally drive like 2-3 hours to get to a spot. And then he's like, sweet, I can go run around. I'm like, actually, no. There's bears. Or we're on top of a mountain.
Geysers.
Yeah. So, but I think he for the most part, he had a fantastic trip. I'm so thankful that we were able to do it. It was absolutely beautiful. I probably realistically could see myself doing it, or at least doing some more national parks.
We got him. Ladies and gentlemen. We got him off the beach.
I would definitely need a buffer.
Okay.
I don't think I could do like national park the next year, national park, like do something like that. But we don't really like do like a bunch of vacations. Like we just do a vacation.
Right.
So I don't really do like little trips here and there. I think if I had done some little trips or maybe like on a 4-day weekend, take one day off of work, go to the beach for a little bit. But since I just do one vacation, I got to have a buffer. I got to have my lazy beach days. You know what I mean?
No, they're not like us. I'll put it out there right now, you know?
Yeah. So we did a Freaky Friday situation over here for the vacations.
Yeah.
We did a y'all's trip and y'all's did an us trip. So how was the beach?
I love the way you worded it. It was a good time. The first 2 days we were there, it was double red flags. So you can't go in the water. And as you've alluded to, I'm not much of a beach guy. And so especially compounded by the fact of if I can't go in the water, odds that I want to just go sit in the sun and sweat. If I wanted to sit in the sun and sweat, I'd go mow my yard, which I do anyway. So it's like, we have sun and sweat at home. But actually my sister and brother-in-law had got like one of those like sun canopies that you can put out there in the shade on the beach, breeze coming through. Very nice. Only did it one out of the 4 days, but it was nice. The rest of the time, lazy time in the condo. We got like a new, like a little handheld gaming system. So we just did a lot of like gaming on that. And we went parasailing one day, which was really fun.
I did see. How fun is that?
Had never done it before. Very fun.
Really?
What show is it from where it's like, I don't have a fear of heights. I just have a rational fear of heights. That's what it you get really high up there and it just kind of feels like you're like on a swing. So you've done it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it just kind of like the whole time I'm grabbing the support bands as if it's not like the harness under me that's holding me. And it's like, if I let go, we're going down. And Amanda's over there and she's got her arms off and she's swinging. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, just like real quick, that's exactly
okay, picture in three. One, two.
Yeah. So it was really fun. It's funny because it's like you're up there like 5-10 minutes, I don't know. And it's like by the time I'm finally starting to get comfortable, we're coming down again.
Coming back down. Yeah.
Anyways, it was a very fun time.
Nice. Yeah. I always say I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not afraid of being up high. I'm afraid of
coming down, not on my own terms. Yeah.
So that's usually every time I have to get on a roof. People are like, are you afraid of heights? I'm like, nope, just afraid of how bad it's going to hurt if I do fall off this thing.
There you go. Good point.
Yeah. Funny enough, the way you spent your beach vacation is how I spend my beach vacation.
Yeah.
As someone who enjoys the beach, both Ash and I'm like, I would rather sit on the balcony, drink coffee. And then when I get too hot, I go inside. I just like the sounds and smell of the ocean. I don't necessarily like the ocean.
This was the first year for me that I think I became more of a like, I'm going to stay inside at the beach guy than like, I'm going to go to the beach guy. But that's age. That's age for you. You know, I'm like, listen, I don't feel bad about it anymore. Like I feel
absolutely not
great that I'm sitting inside and I'm not working. That's all I want to be doing.
That's 100%. A beach nap is pretty nice. Yeah. You know what's my favorite part about a beach vacation is the ham sandwich.
Yeah.
From spending a couple hours on the beach and then you go inside and you get the ham sandwich with the chips.
Turkey here, but sure. I'll hear you out on it.
Yeah.
Amanda and I were talking about that one day because she was craving a sandwich. She was like, why does a sandwich just so much better at the beach? I'm like, I don't know. But like a beach or a pool day, just like a deli sandwich with the chips on it is going to be so much better on a outdoor body of water day for some reason.
Gotta wait a whole year for that.
Yeah. Well, next year you got to tell you what, the only thing I love more than a beach sandwich, talking about shoes with you. Talking about shoes. The boys are back after 2 weeks off. We're here to talk about lawsuits in the sneaker world.
Dum.
That's right. If 2010 was the year of suits and sneakers, 2020 is the decade of lawsuits and sneakers.
Ooh.
They not like us counter two right there. He's putting out bars tonight. And you're leading this one. I'm so excited to just be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm in the judge seat and everyone's in the jury.
We're in the court. So, we're in Tanner's court now. Oh man, I really wish right now that I had programmed the Law and Order dun like sound effect button. Maybe I could add it in post. I won't. You haven't heard it. I have not done it, but it's nice to think
you get like the free version, so it's more just like a bing dong. Ding dong. It's just a doorbell sound.
It's just a doorbell.
Yeah.
Too funny. All right. Oh, you ready? He's dusted off here.
Ready.
I went ahead and I prepared some visuals based on your headlines here.
Perfect.
Now, before you get into it, I wanted to write a visual for just like sneaker lawsuits. And you type it in and there's really not any great stock images. So I went ahead, I asked ChatGPT, hey, could you make an image for sneaker lawsuits? And it gave me a very long-winded answer of saying, I'll generate a conceptual image. And then it said, it looks like the sneaker image file is not available. Here's where it gets good. Let's create a conceptual illustration without relying on external images. I'll draw a simple sneaker, gavel, and legal symbols using basic shapes and colors. And then it said, I've created this. You can download it using the link below. Tanner, I present to you. And I know a lot of people are nervous about like AI art taking our jobs. So if that's you, just bear with us for this next 2 minutes here.
Gotcha.
Okay, here we go. This is
artists sleep easy.
Artists. My favorite part of this is how it says legal document in a little box at the bottom, and legal document is like a little too far bottom of line.
Bottom, yeah.
What's
the?
Yeah, I was just about to ask. So, what do you think the other icons are? It's kind of like the Red Cross logo with like an upside down trident on top of it.
Like it's almost like it's trying to do like the
scales. Yeah,
scales. Yeah, the scales of law.
Yeah.
The other thing just looks like a robot looking down at the legal document, like, but they're scared, like it's being presented to them.
When I tell you how excited, how hard I laughed when I opened up this downloaded image and saw this, and it felt like the cool side of the pillow got flipped over. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have a job a little bit longer. Being said, I ran it through one more, and here's what I got for you here. Very melty, very Salvador Dali-esque, but here you go. There's your image. The floor is yours. Take us away.
This is definitely better, I will say.
Don't get me wrong. This is like still a vibe. This is still something here, but yeah, 100%. This is a little bit more accurate of what we're going for.
I would definitely say yes. Okay. All right. Here we go. Bear with
Chapter
me.
1.
I'm usually not in the
I love
the driver's seat.
Season 6, something new.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so starting to go with it. I mean, obviously we have so we'll get into some more popular of the lawsuits, or more recent of the lawsuits, but it had me, I was like, man, there's got to be a lot of lawsuits that go into this, and turns out far more than to cover. So I just kind of picked some of the big things. So I've got some sneaker and lawsuits go hand in hand like socks and sandals. Okay, you might not like it, but you got to deal with it. All right, big sneaker brands putting out cease and desist. Nothing new to the scene. Okay, but it sure feels like they're really putting some real lawyer up actions out there more recently. All right, so I wanted to go through and look at all of these coming out. So first thing I had to look up was, first off, what is a cease and desist? You know, what is it? Is a lawsuit? Turns out, no. There's also, turns out, two forms of a cease and desist. There's like a letter, and then there's like an order. Now, a letter can pretty much just be written up by anybody. And oddly enough, a letter is not really like, hey, you have to stop doing this. It's really just like a more official ask. Pretty much, yeah. It's like, hey, could you not do it? Now, obviously, the implications of the letter are like, hey, if you're not gonna, then we will take it a step further.
If you're gonna fad, then we're gonna faux, and we're gonna FAFO the whole thing, if you know what I'm saying here. Yeah.
So, but yeah, pretty much anybody can really just do a cease and desist letter.
Yeah.
And an order is more like, this is coming from like a federal court. It's like this is not a request. This is like, hey, you're in trouble.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Stop, comma, please. You know, like please. It's not please stop. It's stop, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. We'll add that further. So started to think, okay, so what are some of the most, if I could just think of infamous sneakers that got hit with a stop that.
Bad Boys Most Wanted.
Hey, ball, you better quit.
That's right.
First one that came to my head was the Ari Menthol 10s.
Yeah.
First one that came to my head, just because very, very iconic shoe. Interesting enough, I guess I always just assumed that this had some type of Nike affiliation,
and that's why they stopped them.
100%
consumers like
not.
You. Yep.
100% not. So exactly. So also, the shoebox looked like the Newports.
Yeah.
Also, which would be crazy, not an official. So, so that was, so very funny in that sense of one being like Nike. So you had basically two companies who were coming for Ari, who is the artist who made these shoes. Funny enough, Nike, very white glove when they came to Ari. They basically were just like, hey, kind of need you to settle down here. You know, they put out an official statement that they said in the collab. Oddly enough, Big Tobacco was very upset.
They don't play.
They came swinging for the fences. They legitimately were like, you are stopping all productions of this. And they were like, there literally cannot be anything. Also, Ari, the artist, cannot own a pair.
Yeah.
They were like, no one can own this shoe. Not even the creator. We don't want anything. That's
like one of the biggest like sticky notes of this whole story in secret history is that like he's not allowed to own a pair, which is, how do you police that really?
How do you,
Do they have like a live feed in his house just to make sure he's never got a pair in there? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They were just like, what is your shoe size? If we ever
we have ever seen one on StockX
scouring eBay.
Yeah.
And if we see your size, we assuming it's you. So I thought that was really funny. Just the kind of like I said, the most infamous one of what got hit with the cease and desist.
Yeah.
Again, probably the one that people are also going to think of is going to be the Warren Lotas, the Jason Voorhees swoosh, or whatever it may be. So this went through a huge legal battle. I remember this was like all over. To be fair, Warren Lotas going after and copying only the most iconic Nike like colorways.
Yeah, this is a little more flagrant than the Ari Menthol 10s, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, didn't give him really swung for the fences out here, which I guess if you're gonna do it, you might as well go big.
Yeah.
So very interesting. So the lawsuit got settled in 2020. Obviously, Nike ended up winning that. Funny enough, when kind of was looking through this, what really basically set Nike into action was the pigeon dunk. Warren Lotas. That is what. So Nike obviously wasn't a huge fan of Warren Lotas and issues, but surprisingly, they were kind of like, they really weren't pressing a lot. But as soon as he was coming out with that pigeon dunk, that is essentially what, from everything that I looked into, that is what made Nike be like, all right, dude, this is now you're coming after our love.
And I wonder if part of that is because the pigeon dunk got the Jeff Staple cosign on it. Like he was part of the rollout for those. And Jeff, you know, Staple Design doesn't have an exclusive with Nike, but obviously from the pigeon dunk, they have like a pretty strong history with Nike, and Jeff Staple's done other work with them as well. So I don't know. I remember like when I saw him giving the cosign, I was like, oh, this is a weird like moment in like sneakers of like, you don't work for Nike and you're not like an exclusive collaborator with Nike, but it's an interesting like dynamic and like relational move to endorse, you know, this sort of product.
Yeah. So that was a very interesting one. And then one that I wasn't super familiar with whenever I like was looking into it, but kind of seemed familiar to me, was the KickRich with the Nike Primes.
Real quick, if I could time out you want to talk about like looks like an AI generated sneaker. Like this is like like an AI generated sneaker. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that I almost forgot about this shoe, but I guess that was the purpose. And you know, Nike real quick, they 2-day ship that cease and desist. They were like, sorry, this is not having it. And I think what Nike really swooped in action was that the buzz was everyone was like, oh, this is a sick Nike and Amazon collaboration. Yeah. The word that everyone was going with was this is an official collab, which interesting enough, going through looking at all these cease and desists, that is usually more commonly when the bigger cases that get the news is the internet says, oh, this must be an official collab. Therefore, Nike or big brands usually go, no, and I'm going to make it so you know it's not, because I'm going to cease and desist this. So, boom, legal system stepped in, and that was it. So those are some of like just the shoes that I had seen. Or I had kind of like thought would be the big ones for cease and desist. Is there anything that you think that I missed that you think is a big, like this one shoe?
The only other one that's in recent years, when I say recent years, I mean especially this year, is the Omi and a Hellcat and Kool KIY lawsuit that has just happened. I shouldn't say lawsuit, but it's the legal case, whatever you want to call it, where they're the ones who do the lightning bolt on the side of it. And lightning especially bolt. You look at Kool KIY and Omi and a Hellcat right next to each other. That was happening this year. So, but these also, both of these speak to that era that was like so 2020s heavy of like it's a dunk, it's a Jordan, and we changed the swoosh to a butterfly, a lightning bolt, a pencil. Like it was that real. I feel like there's such a distinction between like the Ari Menthol 10s and this era of like, yeah, it's the shoe, but we changed the logo, and the logo should be the only thing that's copyrighted, right? And Nike being like, no, homie, like the whole design of the shoe is our thing.
I have hundreds of pages of legal document to show why even the stitching is proprietary.
So these are the only ones that I didn't see on the list that I thought of. And these have an especially like weird or like complicated history as to like why both KIY and Omi and Hellcat were making kind of the same version of the shoe, but slightly different, which I don't 100% know off the top of my head. But other than that, I think you hit on a lot of the other big ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I wanted to go into, and I was like, what are some maybe like brand versus brand type of lawsuits? First one that came to mind was obviously Nike and BAPE. They have had, I mean, it feels like
decades,
half my life that there have been basically fighting each other, which is crazy.
It's like doctors in the hospital, like waking someone up from a coma, and they're like, what year is it? Is Nike still suing BAPE? You know, and it's like, yes. And they're like, I don't know what decade it is anymore, honestly. That's been going on all my life.
God, that could be 30 years. And it really is. So, yeah. Okay. So Ryan's got, you know, the document up. So there are quite a lot of shoes that Nike is saying that BAPE is kind of copying. Really, and all truly, I'm a big BAPE fan. That was kind of the first hype beast brand that I had got into. Look, Nike been hating since the 99 and 2000s. Okay. And it is unfortunately so true. So kind of everything started in 2009. Okay. Nike tried hitting them with this little licensing agreement. So Nike tried going to BAPE and saying, hey, let's work together. BAPE basically said, not feeling it. Nike drops it. BAPE pretty much closes all US stores at that time. So Nike kind of understanding there's been a lot of confusion with BAPE. BAPE's growing in popularity. I think around this time, this is where you've got like Lil Wayne wearing everything. You've got like the Shark hoodies. You've got all of that merch coming out.
And 2007?
Must be Mr. Boy.
Soulja Boy 2007 drops Crank That.
There you go.
That's what I was just looking up. I was like, oh, they tried to start it in 2009. When did Crank That come out? 2007. That was the first time I heard about BAPEs. Yeah.
There you go. So Nike tried to, I guess, make a collaboration or bring BAPE in. Like I said, BAPE said no. Nike drops everything. From what I could kind of pick up, it seems like BAPE said we out of the US. It wasn't necessarily Nike saying you have to leave.
Yeah.
So back in 2016, BAPE does do some redesigns. So Heat comes back, BAPE redesigns their shoes to try and distance themselves from this copyright and all of these kind of things. They're like, hey, okay, we're not going. But then they say, you know what? Run it back. 2021. They said to hell with that. They bring back the original look. Not only did they bring back the original look, they ramp up production.
Double down.
They say we're going back to the copyright stuff and we're making a crap ton of shoes for everybody. And that is when Nike said, that's it. You've done too much. We let you have your fun. We let you do what you want to do. But not only are you going back on your redesign, you're not only you're ramping things up, and boom, we now have the official lawsuit. I think April of this year is when Nike fully presents a official lawsuit, big lawsuit up against BAPE. That is still ongoing. So no final say so or hearing has essentially come from this, but it's been obviously, I would say probably at least 30 years.
Wow.
Maybe even longer.
Lifetime.
That Nike and BAPE have been very at ends. Like I said, they tried making a relationship. BAPE tried, kind of going back and maybe bending and changing their design. And then, like I said, a couple years ago, they basically said, forget this, we're going back original. And then also kind of, I think it was maybe before the lawsuit comes, but word kind of gets out is BAPE making their own quote unquote knockoffs, but then they're saying that the knockoffs are made in the same factory as BAPE. So then there people are like, well, is that a knockoff if you're just making
murky.
it?
Yeah.
But you're just selling a thing, then are you just kind of flapping your gums? So very interesting timing on everything with Nike BAPE.
Yeah, Nike BAPE has been like the long-standing like elephant in the room around all the lawsuits that pop up of like, why is nothing really happening to BAPE? And I don't, I'm not super well versed in all like the nuances and dynamics of that relationship as to like why they've been able to get away with it so long when a lot of other smaller ones that aren't doing things to the scale of BAPE could get away with it. But I think like the thing that's just really interesting to me as it stands today is that now Nego, who I think is no longer officially a part of BAPE's business, is doing a collaboration with Nike on the Air Force 3, the Air Trainer 3, something like that. But also the thing that really like interests me the most is that Sneaker Boutiques, Politics being an example, has both a BAPE account and a Nike account. Like it's kind of crazy to me that Nike would allow that, because
I guess it may. That's kind of what I was thinking when I was going into this. Is it's interesting timing.
Yeah,
because it's not like this isn't something that BAPE has already done. But kind of what I think is that Nike doesn't want to do anything to tarnish its reputation. Obviously, I think with a big company and things like that, you don't want to. I think if they go, hey, they go to retailers.
Okay. If Nike goes to the real estate market
or like boutiques and saying, hey, if you want a contract with us, you can't, because that would be them saying you can't have a contract with Adidas, their direct competitor. And then that, everyone's saying you're just creating a monopoly and things like that. But I was like, interesting timing. But again, I was like, maybe this is Nike. BAPE isn't what it was. I mean, we know that. Yes. Is it still, I would say kind of popular brand? Yes, but I don't think obviously people are wearing BAPE like they used to. So I think before the hype comes out, maybe like early 2000s, they're somewhat small. So they're not really big. So it's like, it is what it is. But then you've got like the 2007, 2010s and things like that, where now all of a sudden they're very popular. You got, Soulja Boy, obviously going big. You got Lil Wayne. You have celebrities. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing someone in the shorts or, the jackets, the zip up hoodie.
They were cranking that from noon to night.
Everywhere. So I think the timing, obviously you got 2009 with Nike saying, hey, let's just get a little licensing agreement. This is them trying to play nice. Obviously try to just, get a piece of the pie. They drop it. I think they wait because BAPE is so hype. If Nike is going after BAPE, you've got the big company of Nike going after the tiny company of BAPE. That doesn't look necessarily good. People are probably maybe spin it like they're afraid of competition, whatever it may be. So I think maybe they're doing it now because maybe BAPE isn't so.
That's got to be what it is.
Big?
Is that
I don't know.
BAPE's business has to be big enough now that it's a threat to Nike, a credible threat. But their business also has to be big enough, again, going back to retailers, that like for retailers, the potential upside of getting the BAPE sales is enough to offset if there's any potential blowback from Nike on it. Like the reward is greater than the risk in that scenario of like, if Nike was going to push back on retailers from it, it's got to be worth it to like chase the BAPE sales a little bit.
Yeah. And I would imagine really obviously there's a list of BAPE shoes that they're going after. I would imagine they're obviously probably targeting the BAPEsta. I think that's going to be your biggest one, which is like your Air Force One low, and then maybe like the Quartzsta high, which is like your Jordan 1 high. But I think probably the biggest one is going to be your BAPEsta.
The BAPEsta is the biggest one,
so it'll be very interesting to see you know, kind of what this comes. And I think this is going to be a big case for other companies moving forward.
Yeah.
So Nike BAPE obviously had to talk about it. It's been going on for so long. Next big one that I came into was obviously the boys and girls at MSCHF.
They love a lawsuit.
They are not shy of controversy and lawsuits and things like that. So going into this, also kind of got I was like, man, what an interesting case, kind of going into it and seeing more. So MSCHF 2019, they do the Jesus shoe, which I remember kind of having some waves, but not really.
It was, it was a lot of like, quiet. It's what MSCHF does, where it's like, it's a real big internet moment, but it doesn't necessarily translate to like, you see a lot of people wearing them and like, you know, you see them all the time. It was just a very like internet-y moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So that happens. Well, then MSCHF comes out and they do the Satan shoe.
If you do one, you got to do the other.
Got to do the other. So the Satan shoe comes out. I remember that. One, they collaborated.
I remember where I was. Yeah.
Lil Nas X, which he was a huge moment at that point.
Right.
He's wearing these shoes in his music video. I'm pretty sure that's also the music video where he's twerking on the devil.
Pretty sure it's that one. Yeah.
Lot of craziness going around the shoe. Obviously, I don't remember if it was ever actually true or not. I don't know if you remember. I know the was that it had actual blood in the shoe.
Confirmed. I think Lil Nas X's blood.
It is. Okay. I can't remember. I was like,
I'm pretty sure that's the story of it. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if the rumor was that it was Lil Nas X's blood, but then it actually came out that it was actually a culmination of just blood from like people at MSCHF. Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was actually Lil Nas X blood. But
it was a mixture of both. I think it was MSCHF employees, and it's your classic blood party where everyone dips a little bit into the pool. You know, it's your classic sort of Silicon Valley stuff. Yeah.
You're wearing these shoes. You've got the Slipknot drumsticks. I don't know any other blood products, but you probably got a leech in a tank. I don't know. Something crazy.
I wouldn't know anything about those parties. Mark Zuckerberg. I wasn't at those parties. Elon Musk.
So again, the shoe comes out. What does the internet do? Wow, this is a crazy Nike shoe. How could Nike do satanic work? Yeah. We told you Nike is satanic. Nike goes, whoa. Yeah. This is not us. This is not a official collab.
Yeah.
Problem is that people go, well, I see the Nike swoosh, so it's a Nike collab.
Yeah.
So Nike now has to soon come in. They get Johnny Law to come on in, and they say, okay, now we got to official. You have to stop this shoe. Problem. Shoes have already made it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So within the settlement, so MSCHF and Nike, they come to an agreement. They make a settlement, and MSCHF says, hey, everyone, we will buy back the shoe at the sticker price.
Right.
And they also open it up and say, we will also buy back the Jesus shoe. Okay. So I say, so that's
Can't
great.
Have one with
obvious. Yeah. And apparently that's all they really had to do was just make that statement. Because obviously you can't control what people are doing.
Right.
Things like that. I don't think a lot I did that because I think the resale on these,
the news of it, shot him
insane.
Up. Yeah.
Insane. Also, I guess I never looked into it because I was like, well, I don't really care to have the shoe.
Yeah.
The price of the shoe was $1,018.
Yeah, for the scripture verse on it, I'm pretty sure.
For the scripture verse. Are you familiar with Luke 10:18?
Putting me on the spot, I'm going to say no.
Gotcha,
Sorry to everyone listening. So, yeah.
Hey, and that is fair.
Sorry, family.
Yeah. So Luke 10:18 is a biblical passage that reads, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven, which is interesting because in Lil Nas X's video, I think that's how he gets into hell, he falls, things like that.
What a collab. Yeah.
So I was like, that is crazy that they found a verse that fit the shoe, and then we're like, haha, let's just make the shoe also $1,000.
Yeah.
Then also crazy that people paid $1,000.
Well, it was pun intended, it was on the heels of the Jesus shoe, which had that crazy virality moment, right? Of like, look at how much these are going for resale. Look at what a crazy story behind it. So I think then, and the Jesus shoe, I don't think had a like a collaborative cosign on it. I don't think they really had like a face behind it, other than Jesus, a great cosign. No offense meant there.
Collab of the what's longer than a millennium?
Collab of the eternity.
Existence?
Yeah, exactly.
Collab of eternity.
And so like Lil Nas X coupled with it on the success of the Jesus shoe, I think is kind of what skyrocketed the demand for these.
Yeah.
But
could you imagine Jesus sitting up there, got his MSCHF Jesus shoes on, and then gets word of this other collab, be like, boys, you didn't tell me that this was coming next.
I wouldn't have signed with your brand had I known. Jesus would have
there's one thing you know about me.
This guy is my foe.
That's my day one nemesis, dog.
I only have one op, and it's him.
It's him in the flood. Come on, man.
No, Jesus would have been a Birkenstock guy, 1,000%. We know that.
For sure. Sure.
I think just like the real interesting thing about this lawsuit that's always intrigued me is that like I feel like it really toes the line between like what is art and what is like a consumable product, you know, because they made these by buying authentic Nike shoes, then modifying them and then reselling them. And I feel like therein lies the question of like, so what am I allowed to do with Nike product after I purchase it, you know?
Oh, well.
Oh,
I like how you touched on that.
Unintentional segue?
Unintentional segue. We're a little early for that segue, but I will. That is a talking point that I have.
Oh, is that a foreshadowing then? We're not going to get to it right now, but okay. Okay, good hook.
Foreshadowing.
37 minutes in. Keep you watching if you're not already hooked.
Keep you watching, yes. Okay, boom, MSCHF. Okay, off of the heels of their Nike lawsuit, they said Vans surely wouldn't sue us.
Right.
Well, sorry, boys. The waves are off, or on, or similar. Or
it's double red flags. Different. It's double red flags. No one's going in the water.
Vans immediately double red flag in this bed.
They're out on the beach at 9 a.m.
Yeah. And all I could think of was when I'm like, well, gosh darn it, MSCHF, we just did this.
Yeah.
I mean, just did. And the boys are back again. You know what I mean? Vans on their front porch saying you can't just deep fry, crinkle cut French fry our gosh dang shoe and get away with it. We're not up on this. And the cool kids sitting at Vans, they also went ahead and they called up their lawyers. And yep, sure enough, they put ahead and put a cease and desist on this one. But hey, you know, again, this is one of those things, people thinking what common thread within all this, everyone's like, wow, we have a MSCHF Vans collab. And Vans going, this is not a collab from us.
Yeah. To be fair, this a little less dangerous to your reputation than Satan.
I guess so. Maybe they thought, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I'll break the TV to cover up, you know, peeing on the floor. And turns out mom and dad are still pissed about both. If anything, they're now more mad about the pee on the floor.
I'm sorry, that was such a specific example. Do you want to tell a story from your childhood real quick or something?
I didn't break a TV, but I did pee on the floor.
Better cover it up. Let's break the TV. That's reasonable.
So this one, very just simple of Vans, basically just your typical cease and desist. Vans saying too close to our intellectual property. And my favorite part is they had a grown adult who spent many years going to school for the legal system to read this and just go, side with Vans.
Wavy baby. Yeah.
Not so baby. All too wavy.
You remember who the celebrity cosign for this one was?
Silver Surfer?
No. Good guess.
Oh.
Tyga. Tyga was the cosign for this one.
That's true. I did see the picture. How could I forget it? It covered it when I was looking this up. It's the whole screen, just Tyga holding up a shoe.
Yeah, Tyga
which
was the
also
cosign for this one.
That one I also was like, Tyga. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I think that's, you know,
I liked this one. I still think this one is like a very funny, very cool. This fits MSCHF for sure. especially, causing some mischief.
Yeah.
So I thought this one was hilarious. So basically is what, they ruled into Van's order. They had to I think they had sold some. They did have to cancel some orders.
They had to iron the rest of the shoes and straighten them out before they sent them out. That's your punishment.
Yeah, throw them in dryer, high heat.
Right, exactly. Get the wrinkles.
Oh, you just got regular Vans.
Oh no, what a punishment.
Yeah, instead of crinkled Vans, it's just slightly wrinkled Vans.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
Yeah, I remember, I think the year that these came out, at the end of the year, I think I gave these most innovative. Which, a bit of a weird take, but like, I still look back and I'm like, it's wild that they took the time to like, MSCHF like makes shoes, but they're not like a sneaker brand, but they took the time to develop and tool a midsole that does that, which is just crazy. I'm sure that took so much more time than, putting blood in the bubbles, which is not an insignificant task, by the way, but,
yeah, very much so.
But yeah, I remember when I saw these, I was like, that looks crazy. Cause it looks like they finally, like someone drew it up in Photoshop and was like, wouldn't it be fun if we actually made it? But then they actually made it. That's crazy.
Absolutely. So it was a very funny one. I really enjoyed this one.
Last note on these. I got to see a pair of these in hand at Lavish Life. Shout out Lavish Life Sneakers here in town. Very heavy. It's a very heavy shoe.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I feel like it's a lot of midsole in that bad boy.
It's chunky. Okay. Continue.
A lot of product. Okay. Last lawsuit going into most recent lawsuit. I'm assuming I'm saying this right. I've actually don't know if I've ever heard this brand pronounced. So this is just me going Goyard.
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 Yeah.
Goyard. Okay.
Goyard.
There you go.
It's pronounced Gogurt.
Gogurt. My father did lose his life for this. So Goyard probably may recognize the print style. It is a pretty popular fashion brand. Well, they also had to go ahead and get surgical with probably the biggest customizer, or at least one of the most famous, the shoe surgeon. Came out. These are the sneakers that the shoe surgeon created. The interesting thing that's about this is obvious. I mean, from what I looked at, Goyard doesn't have any sneakers. They don't do sneakers. They do bags and wallets and things like that. The interesting thing is the pattern. So obviously they have the pattern, but what is Goyard's lawsuit is not necessarily the fact that he's using the pattern without permission. The fact that Goyard, they're saying their lawsuit is that this is a counterfeit material. So their statement is saying that the shoe surgeon did not purchase the materials directly from us. Therefore, we can't verify if this material is legit or not. Yeah. So they are pressing charges. They're bringing the cease and desist as a basically like counterfeit production, which I thought was such an interesting way to phrase. And usually when we see sneakers and the cease and desist, the way we look at it is, hey, you're coming too close to my product. Right. And in this case, it's basically just Goyard being like, I don't know, shit could be fake.
That to me is like such a wild, weird angle, because that's like the guilty until proven innocent method, right? Where we're like, we can't prove that these are fake, but he didn't get them from us. And it's like, exactly. Okay, well that doesn't necessarily make it fake,
And the phrasing of this is also similar, like almost kind of like saying like Goyard being like, we're kind of the only people who could verify it,
right?
But we're not.
Yeah, right.
So you just got to stop.
Yeah, that. And I'm sure there's a reason for this, right? Like Goyard, the company of the size they are, and the legal team, I have to assume is going about it this way for a reason I don't immediately understand, but it is just funny on paper to be like, oh, like you said, like he didn't get it from us, or we're saying he didn't get it from us, so it probably means it's fake, right?
Yeah. So it's a very interesting. Now, obviously, I'm sure they're getting into to protect their intellectual property or their brand or whatever it may be. But I thought that was such a funny way that they have it phrased is,
could you imagine
we don't know if it's authentic.
Can you imagine if you went to sell like your car to CarMax or on Facebook Marketplace and Mazda stepped in and they're like, he didn't get it from the dealership, just so you guys know. That might not actually even be a Mazda. It'd be like, okay, can I still sell it? No, actually, no. We'd rather you not. Yeah.
Yeah. So going through all these things, a lot of like kind of one question came to mind and then another one came into while I was doing. So the one kind of it's a little bit more easy is basically what could be a common theme with this is basically not getting a cosign. So especially in the sense of Goyard, in the sense of MSCHF. Now, I think obviously the Satan shoe, I don't think Nike they're not greenlighting that.
Yeah.
But with Vans, I feel like Vans I think they would have loved that idea.
Yeah.
So I feel like if MSCHF just went to Vans, I think that shoe could have been a legitimate collaboration. And I think Vans and MSCHF would have loved to make that shoe together.
Well, case in point, MSCHF and Crocs, right? They did the big yellow boot, the one with the Swiss cheese boots.
Exactly.
So yeah, but it all depends if Vans leadership is savvy enough to understand what MSCHF is doing. And
and the marketing,
that it's more about like, it's more of a, like to your point, exactly. It's more of a marketing and advertising move than it is like a reliable channel of sales that's going to be repeatable. It's just a moment, right? It's an advertising moment for you.
Hey, people are going to get this. They're going to say Vans did something cool. I'm going to want to check out Vans. I think the same thing with Goyard. I think, the shoe surgeon is I mean, obviously he is a big enough person, and with a big brand, I think he could have gone and made this be official collab. So kind of as we were going through this episode, that's kind of the big thing that came was like, could these things have become legitimate if they just simply had gotten a cosign? And obviously we don't know the backstory. We don't know if any of these people had tried going to the brands and the brand said no, and they said, well, I'll just do it anyway, because worst case scenario, you just say stop. But I've already gotten the marketing. And I think MSCHF, they're like, we don't necessarily need to create the product.
Well,
just this whole lawsuit and cease and desist and images and things like that, that's going to be the marketing that we are ultimately after.
I think that's what it comes down to, is like, it's going to be so collaborator specific. And the way that I think of it is like, if it's more beneficial to the collaborator to, or the customizer, whatever you want to call that party, to officially collaborate with the brand, then it might make sense. Like, I think Shoe Surgeon officially collaborating with Goyard, not that it's, again, I don't know that it's inauthentic or whatever right now, but I think having the official name to it gives it more credibility. You could probably charge a higher premium price, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, MSCHF, I think if you put yourself in their shoes, one more pun, I think getting sued by Vans is a better story for them than doing an official shoe with Vans. But with Crocs, Crocs is so quirky and weird, you know, that like, that is a good collaboration for them to do, because otherwise they're just doing a shoe with holes in it, you know. But like,
for sure,
they do the shoe
Crocs
and it's got holes.
The shoe.
Right. It's like Crocs is a weird one for them, but like, you know, Nike doesn't benefit anything from working with MSCHF or Warren Lotas. Like, they don't need those names attached to them. So yeah, I think it's going to be so specific to each party as to like whether a collaboration is actually a better moment than a lawsuit might be more interesting for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so really what had me thinking, especially was with this last one with Goyard and the shoe surgeon.
Yeah.
Because he does customized shoes all the time, and there's nothing happens. And essentially the loophole, I don't know if a loophole or kind of the gray area that the shoe surgeon has is that it's all one of one.
Right.
So it's simply someone, you know, buys a shoe, celebrity, an athlete, they buy a shoe, they send it to him. They want a specific idea, specific custom done, and he customizes a shoe for that. There is no law that says you can't basically do that. You can't. I could buy a plain Air Force One and find someone in my local area to customize it, make a complete, unique one-of-one shoe, and everything be fine. What I did find whenever I was going through, especially at the Go Yard, the shoe surgeon, is essentially that mass product.
Right.
He was going, and those shoes that you had up, those were going to be basically, you can buy this shoe in a, variety of sizes, doing a run and things like that.
Yeah. And that's what I was looking at when you started talking about it. Oh, this is funny. It did a 2002 R, but in the blue lobster colorway. I hadn't seen that posted yet. I don't know if any of the Go Yard stuff is still up. Well, it's got the surgeon print on it. So yeah,
which looks, if you're not looking, kind of looks also.
It looks like a designer print, which I think is probably the intention behind it. But yeah, it is. It's an interesting gray area, of like, is it a one of one or are you doing a run of it?
Yeah. So when it's almost in that one of one, and basically you're just doing I'm charging someone for like my custom work, like that. It seems that is the tipping point as to when these lawsuits can come in, and why, because you see, the shoe surgeon being sued, and you're, for doing a custom, and you're like, that seems crazy because he does custom all the time. What's going on? He's done Nike, all of these shoes. But that was the final straw for this, is I'm going to do this print of this famous brand without permission.
Yeah.
In a mass quantity.
But that's the thing, is that even though it can't be cut and dry, because if it was, wouldn't have any of the other brands, Nike or Adidas, gone after him. Like Go Yard's the first one really publicly going after him. But there's also an element there where Nike doesn't go after him because they use him for one of one stuff for Nike.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
which is such like an interesting, like it kind of like feels like Shoe Surgeon is like the current BAPE, right? Where it's like not producing to the scale that BAPE is, not doing that directly derivative work, but like is putting out like Nike designs, but it's customs. I don't know how customized. That's the whole gray area. And like Nike's not going after it, but they are going after all these other little ones. And so I think like probably a lot of people look at Shoe Surgeon, they're like, why is he not getting slapped on the wrist?
There you go. And I mean, obviously, I think like to your point is he has the connections. So
right. They're using him. Like when they need to do one-of-one bespokes for athletes, if they can't crank it out quick enough, they go to him and have him do it, which that's my favorite, to watch the Instagram comments of being like, is that a Nike product or is that a custom? And it's like, well, Nike commissioned him to make it. And it's like,
so where's the line?
Right. Yeah. I could do 50 minutes right now on just like talking about that.
Yeah. And that's essentially kind of like the last thing I had to pretty much like leave the episode on, is that question, is how do we feel about big brands going after other big brands, or even like big brands going after like the little guy, going through this, is it all about just protecting your product and keeping the quality under control? Because if we have someone who is able to do this, people assume it's Nike, they buy it, it's not up to the quality of what Nike would like, therefore people think that Nike has it. Or you have, kind of the same thing, you're trying to protect your image. Schiff and Lil Nas X create a Satan shoe, people think Nike's Satanist, they obviously don't want that image. Or is this just another part of that capitalist machine ensuring market dominance of you're doing something that's too close to what we do and I don't like it. I have said I have a control over the black and red on a shoe in these specific places. And I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know where I go on this. I feel like sometimes I look at it and I go, like this big company worked really hard to establish the culture around this and the importance of this shoe. And obviously they're going to want to protect their product. But then there's also the thing where I'm like,
but I don't cry for billionaires. I'll tell you right now.
I'm like, oh, you're just trying to make sure that no one, like, you have to buy us. You literally, we're going to make it to where you can't buy from somebody else.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to split my thoughts into two different segments here and go short on both because we're already getting close to an hour and I feel like I could easily do an hour on this. So there's part of me that thinks about like why there's this sudden like influx and ramp up of the Nike lawsuits. And I feel like part of that might be coming from the fact that Nike, probably all sneaker companies, are having a hard time doing like infinite capitalist growth right now, just because like you're maybe starting to hit the wall of like, how much can we do every year? And so since the pie isn't getting any bigger, you've got to start taking back pieces of the same size pie. And people who are infringing on your legal IP is maybe not like the easiest way to do it, but it's a pretty quick, it's an easily identifiable way to do it, right? Of like, how do we get sales from Adidas? We got to be better than them. How do people like us more? That's going to take more time to figure out. They're making knockoffs of our shoes. Yeah, we could squash that. Like it's, seems like maybe part of it. And then I wonder if part of it as well is trying to establish this in the physical world, because the way things are going, more and more digital AI virtual spaces and stuff like that. If you establish the precedent now, whenever it becomes an issue in the virtual world, there's some sort of precedent for it again.
I think that is
a couple of thoughts.
I know that we talked about similar to that. And I do think that, like you said, that's the quick and easy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, I need to, how do I get more growth? How do I get this? Like you said, it's hard to compete with these other big brands and things like that. But is what I can do very easily is take out these smaller brands and things like that.
That's under the assumption that the customer who's buying the BAPE or the MSCHF or the Warren Lotus of your shoe, if they couldn't get it, would come back and buy Nikes, which I'd argue the whole reason they're buying those in the first place is because they either don't want to or cannot buy Nikes. Like the ones that they want are not in their price range. So I don't know if it's that simple.
And it is interesting. Another thing that has me conflicted is, again, not trying to stretch this episode, but the interesting of like who Nike goes to, and maybe it's because it's easier, of going with going towards like this one specific customizer, rather than the obvious giant monopoly that is knockoffs,
right?
Which are literally like, I will sell you a Jordan 1 Chicago for $80.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm sure, an easy Google to do, but I'm sure that's harder for Nike to get to, because I'm sure it's obviously tied through tons of different things, international, whatever it may be. But
I bet it's harder to pinpoint, and I don't know if I can pull the article right now, but I remember reading recently, I think they just opened the first case or sent a cease and desist on a fake sneaker seller that's like maybe based overseas. So I think they're now maybe starting to explore that option as well.
There you go.
So thoughts, and to answer the other question real quick on like, what should customizers or people be allowed to do with like, MSCHF with the Satan shoe, or like, Shoe Surgeon of like, I buy authentic Nike product. I do whatever I want with it. I sell whatever I want with it. Yeah. I feel like it's tough because like, there's a part of me that's like, once I buy it, I can do whatever I want with it. If I want to buy, look at StockX. If I want to buy the Nina Chanel 3s, whatever, if I want to buy whatever the latest hot shoe is and go resell it, like, they can't tell me I can't go resell it. That's my product. But like now, if I want to like draw an upside down cross on it and sell it, maybe I could sell one. But like if I did a run of 20, could I sell a run of 20? Because now it's
what is hard. The quantity?
Where's the line? Right. Yeah. I think, to your point, quantity seems to be the tipping point between like,
correct.
Yeah. How many can I do before they're like, because of the scale you're doing it and multiple people can get it, that's maybe where the average consumer starts to think, I see a swoosh on there, that's got to be official Nike product. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the hard thing is whenever you're going into this and like looking into it, a lot of people probably, their mind's always be like, just design your own shoe.
Yeah.
One, as if that's a very easy thing to do.
It's hard.
Again, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I guarantee most people, if you tell them draw a shoe, they're going to obviously go to draw a shoe that they're familiar with, which is probably a Nike, Adidas, a New Balance, things like that.
Yeah.
So one, it's going to be hard to do that. Two, I know for sure Nike, just because obviously this covered a lot of Nike. I'm sure it applies to other big brands. When you look into the patents and proprietary that they have, like it was a joke, but it is also very serious. Nike has what stitching and how the stitching can look is designed to their shoe. And also they have every single aspect of every single shoe that they've done.
Yeah.
Is patent that I can now bring a lawsuit to you. So it's damn near impossible for somebody else to try and make their own shoe.
Yeah. It's not just the swoosh on the side or the word air on the midsole. It's where the panels are and the shape of the panels and everything like that. So yeah.
How big is the panel? We don't own red and black, but we own it in this looking.
Yeah. So,
to
your point, anyone who makes a new sneaker, and that's why I give so much credit to when like you see these small startup brands come around and it's a good looking design. It's like, not only like you had to make something that looked new and looks good. And like, that seems like a really hard task right now. Yeah.
Crazy.
Last thing before we wrap up, I wanted to drop one more. I forgot. John Geiger was another big case of lawsuits there with the Air Force One versus his version of the shoe. He fought the lawsuit for a while, and I don't think won it, but I think came out to a better outcome of it than most other people who just get like squashed and shot down.
That was one of the designers who came up. I almost brought it up of the like kind of
it's the G
loop-de-loop. There you go. For that, but just by the time I kind of looked into this, I was like, I feel like I've got the three, but that was definitely one of the ones that I come in and saw. There was quite a lot of articles talking about that one, so I think that would be a good one also to look into.
So I think, like, to summarize, it sounds like the gray area is both how much you make, how big the run is, and how often you do it, but also I think for us maybe a little bit, how different from the original is it, right? You take the swoosh off, you change it with just another logo. Personally, I'm like, yeah, we probably don't need that. They could make a case for that. But then how far do you have to manipulate it to where it's like no longer recognizable? That's the gray.
It's tough.
That's the gray area. So interesting.
It is tough, but it was fun. It was a fun little
I had a great time. Thank you so much for putting this together. For all of you who made it to the end of the episode, thank you so much for listening. Let us know how you enjoyed this type of episode. If you want us to do more of this, this was a Tanner Wright. This was a Tanner written episode. Real quick, just applause over there. Give him his flowers in the comments. Let us know if you want to hear more of these, and we'd be happy to do them. I had a really good time doing this.
Yeah, it was very fun. To be fair, a lot of lawsuits.
Yeah, no shortage of knowledge to pull from there. Yeah.
A lot of lawsuits out there.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for checking out another episode of Shoe Podcast. You can find us online at shoepodcast.com, across all socials at Shoe Podcast. If you want to continue the conversation with us, feel free to join our Discord. We'll have a link to it down in the episode description below. Lastly, if you made it this far, please hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, that follow or whatever button it is on your favorite podcast listening platform. If you can leave a review, we'd greatly appreciate that as well. Tanner, before we go, what do you want to leave the people with?
Man, it's getting hot out. Okay. Drink your water.
Done.
If you got animals, keep inside. Check the cement. Their paws get hot.
If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for them.
There you go. If you can't walk barefoot, neither can they.
Yep.
Come on now. Really biggest thing. I've really been on my lawn kick game. I'll be honest. I'm really proud of my lawn this year. I think I'm really settling in with the heat coming out, with the heat wave. 1, it's not safe for you. 2, it's actually really not healthy for your lawn. So, hey, if you need to let your lawn grow for another week, let it grow for another week.
Okay.
Don't find yourself in the hospital and somebody be like, "Oh my God, what got you here?" And you have to look at them and go, "I was mowing."
Tried to do front and backyard all in one pass. It wasn't meant to be. Yeah.
What you're doing that? Your grandfather's looking down and he was like, "Didn't I storm a beach for this?"
for you to get a little overheated in the backyard, son. Yeah. I'm going to hold you hostage for 20 minutes after we finish recording. I don't think I told you I did my first night mow a couple of weeks ago. Game changer.
Envious. Yep. Envious of that. I'm excited.
All right,
boys. We got to go.
We got more important things to talk about.
We got long talk.
Thank you everyone for checking out another episode of Shoe Podcast. We'll be back whenever with whatever. I'm your co-host Ryan Landry.
I'm your co-host Tanner Young.
ASMR edition. Bye.